All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
I am.
Awesome. This time, we're digging into the early career of Katy Perry.
Oh, interesting choice.
Yeah, I think so. We've got a ton of sources, like articles, interviews, even some biographical bits.
Sounds like a lot to unpack.
It is, which is why we've got a real expert with us today, someone who really knows the music industry inside and out.
You make me sound very important.
Oh, you are. So think of it like a Q&A, casual but insightful. By the end, we'll all understand how Katy Perry went from gospel music to, well, topping those pop charts.
It is a wild journey.
And how artists balance, staying true to who they are with, well, creating music that connects with a really big audience.
Tough balance to strike.
Yeah. Okay, let's start with Katy's roots. I was pretty surprised to learn she was, raised in a very religious household.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Pastor parents, gospel music, the whole 9 yards.
Wow, that's quite a contrast.
Isn't it? Can you imagine going from that world to releasing, well, a song like I Kissed a Girl?
Talk about a dramatic shift.
Yeah.
It really speaks to that theme we see a lot with artists, trying to reconcile their past with the image they're building for their career.
Kind of like shedding one skin to reveal another, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for Katy, it meant navigating a complicated relationship with her religious upbringing as she entered this secular music world.
Which might explain some of the pushback she got. Our sources show both the LGBTQ plus community and the Christian community weren't exactly thrilled with I Kissed a Girl.
It's fascinating how one song became this lightning rod for so many different criticisms. From the LGBTQ plus side, some felt the song kind of trivialized same-sex attraction.
Made it like a gimmick.
Yeah, instead of reflecting, their lived realities.
Right. And then you had some in the Christian community who saw it as like a total betrayal of her religious upbringing.
Like she was turning her back on everything she was raised with.
Yeah, exactly.
It shows just how tricky it is for artists to express themselves authentically while, also appealing to a wide audience.
For sure. And it's worth mentioning that Katy herself said the song was really more about female empowerment and this fascination with women.
Inspired by Scarlett Johansson's beauty, actually.
Right. So maybe it was less about, the act of kissing a girl and more about this sense of awe towards other women.
You could say that, but as we see, even with those layers of meaning, navigating those nuances in a pop song, well, it's not always easy.
Nope. And you can't argue with the fact that I Kissed a Girl really put Katy Perry on the map. It was a massive hit.
Huge.
Yeah. So it raises that question of image. How much of Katy's early persona was really her, and how much was crafted to grab attention?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Authenticity versus commercial appeal. I think you see both at play in Katy's early career.
Yeah, because our sources show she was really into artists like Freddie Mercury, known for pushing boundaries and theatrical performances.
Right, right.
And she clearly had a passion for fashion, especially vintage clothing, which helped create her unique look.
She wasn't just handed a prepackaged image. There was something genuine there.
True. But then there's the other side. She was working with producers like Dr. Luke, the hit maker.
Oh, yeah. His influence is undeniable. You can't underestimate the impact of producers, songwriters, that whole behind-the-scenes music industry machine.
So how does an artist even find that balance between their own vision and what the industry is pushing for?
It's a constant negotiation and takes a lot of self-awareness, knowing what you're willing to compromise on and what's absolutely non-negotiable for you.
And sometimes it's about finding ways to inject your personality and vision into a more commercial sound.
Yeah.
It's like learning to speak 2 languages fluently, the language of your own artistic expression and the language of the pop charts.
I like that analogy. It's spot on. And I think Katy, even early on, showed a real talent for that kind of translation.
It's not an easy path, that's for sure. And her story really shows that. Our sources mention her getting dropped from multiple record labels, trying to find her place in that male-dominated punk scene during Warped Tour.
Wait, she was on Warped Tour?
Yeah, crazy, right?
That's so different from the cupcake bra, colorful pop princess image she became famous for.
I know, right? But it shows how willing she was to experiment, to get outside her comfort zone, even if it meant, feeling a bit out of place.
It speaks to a real tenacity, that drive to make it, no matter the genre or the scene.
Totally. And honestly, that Warped Tour experience might have been crucial and helping her develop that resilience and sage presence she'd become known for.
Like she was unknowingly gathering the tools she'd need for her future pop domination.
Yeah, even if it felt totally unrelated at the time.
Exactly. Those early struggles, those moments of rejection, they can actually become the building blocks for an artist's later success.
They teach you to adapt, to be resourceful, and to stick to your vision even when things get tough. So maybe those detours weren't detours at all, just essential parts of the journey.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. And it makes you wonder, what if she hadn't gone through all that?
Would we even have the Katy Perry we know today?
Who knows? But it does show that there's no one-size-fits-all path to success in music.
It's talent, it's hard work, it's a bit of luck, but it's also, being able to adapt, to learn from those setbacks and to keep growing as an artist.
And that's something aspiring artists can really take to heart. It's not always about the straightest line to the top, but about the experiences you gain along the way.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about Katy's background, the impact of I Kissed a Girl, this whole balancing act between authenticity and commercial appeal.
Right.
But there's still so much more to dig into,
Oh yeah, we've only just scratched the surface.
especially about that song and how it set the stage for her career.
Absolutely. It's a key moment, and we need to look closer at the controversy surrounding it, how it was received by different communities, and what it says about, the music industry's power to shape narratives.
Totally agree. Okay, before we get into all of that, I want to hear from you. What have you found most interesting about Katy Perry's, early career so far? What's really jumped out at you from these sources?
Honestly, it's that contrast between her gospel upbringing and the boldness of I Kissed a Girl. It's not a background to breakout contrast you see every day.
And it's not just the song, it's the whole image she built around that time. Very playful, colorful, almost cartoonish, but still edgy,
Yeah, it was a unique mix, and it clearly worked.
It did.
That ability to walk those lines, to be playful and provocative, innocent and edgy, it's not easy to pull off. And it's something we'll definitely delve into more as we continue.
Looking forward to it. Okay, listeners, get ready. We're going deep into I Kissed a Girl and all the baggage it carried.
Should be an interesting ride. All right, so I Kissed a Girl. Looking back, it's amazing how a song can become this cultural phenomenon, sparking these debates on so many levels.
Oh yeah, it was inescapable. Everyone was singing it, but the conversations around it were anything but simple.
Exactly. For a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community, there was this feeling that the song reduced lesbian relationships to just a catchy hook. Like it was just a phase.
Yeah, and some sources even suggest that she was accused of queer baiting, essentially, hinting at same-sex attraction to appeal to a wider audience.
Right, without actually, identifying as part of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah.
And that ties into this deeper critique about the male gaze, this idea that the song presented same-sex intimacy in a way that was meant to titillate a heterosexual male audience.
Instead of reflecting, the actual experiences of LGBTQ plus individuals.
Yeah.
So instead of being empowering, it was seen as kind of reinforcing this idea that female relationships are mostly for men to enjoy.
That's one way to look at it. And it sparked this discussion about, the responsibility of artists, especially those with huge platforms, to consider the impact of their work
On marginalized communities.
Yeah.
And then you had the other side, the Christian community.
Yeah.
Some people felt like I Kissed a Girl was this direct contradiction to her upbringing.
Like a rejection of her faith.
Exactly.
It was seen as this transgression, a move away from the values she was raised with. And that tension, between her religious past and her new pop star persona, that became a theme, throughout her early career.
Almost like she was trying to reconcile these two opposite sides of herself.
The good girl and the rebel.
Yeah.
It's a struggle many artists go through, shedding an old identity to embrace a new one, especially when those identities are rooted in, deeply held beliefs.
Yeah. But I remember Katy saying that the song was inspired by Scarlett Johansson's beauty, like a kind of admiration that went beyond just being sexual.
Oh, interesting. That adds a layer of complexity to the discussion. It suggests that the song wasn't just about the physical act, but about recognizing the power of women.
So it was more about like female empowerment and attraction rather than the specifics of the kiss.
It's definitely open to interpretation, but even if that was her intention, it shows how hard it is to get those those nuanced ideas across in a pop song, especially one meant to be, catchy and provocative.
Right, right. It seems like the song ended up meaning different things to different people.
Exactly. I Kissed a Girl became more than just a song. It became this cultural symbol, almost like a Rorschach test.
I like that.
It revealed these anxieties about changing social norms and evolving views of gender and sexuality.
And Katy Perry was right at the center of it all.
Whether she meant to be or not, she became a catalyst, someone who forced people to confront their own biases and assumptions.
Makes you think, would a song like I Kissed a Girl even be controversial today?
That's a good question. The cultural landscape has shifted so much since 2008. We're more open about sexuality and gender identity these days.
So maybe it wouldn't be as shocking.
Maybe not. But any song about sexuality in pop music is likely to spark some kind of debate. It's a topic that's very personal, touches on people's values.
Right.
And pop music has this power to bring those conversations to the mainstream.
It forces us to engage with ideas that might be uncomfortable.
Exactly. And I think that's a good thing. Discomfort, it can lead to growth, to understanding, to creating a world that's more inclusive.
Well said. Okay, let's shift gears now and talk about the music industry itself, that machine we were talking about earlier.
Right.
It takes more than just talent to break through.
Oh yeah, it's a whole system, a complex ecosystem. You need talent, but you also need, support, a good strategy, and yeah, luck definitely plays a part.
And Katy's early career really, really shows just how tough it can be to navigate that world.
For sure. Think about it. She was dropped by multiple record labels before finally finding success.
I mean, that kind of rejection, that would be enough to make a lot of people, just give up.
It shows how resilient she was, how much she believed in her vision. She didn't let those setbacks, define her. She kept working, kept honing her craft until she found the right people who believed in her.
Which brings up the influence of producers and songwriters. Katy didn't write I Kissed a Girl on her own.
Right. It was a collaboration. She worked with seasoned songwriters and producers like Dr. Luke, who had such a huge impact on pop music back then.
Yeah. And you can definitely hear his style in the song, the structure, those catchy hooks.
Oh, absolutely. It's a reminder that pop music is often a team effort. There's this whole network of talented people working behind the scenes, creating those earworm melodies.
So it's not just about an artist's vision, but about finding the right people who can help them translate that vision into something that connects with a wider audience.
Exactly. And early on, Katy Perry showed that she had a real knack for surrounding herself with talented people who understood pop music.
And who knew how to make hits.
Exactly. Yeah. But let's be real, the music industry isn't just about the music itself. It's about image. It's about branding. It's about creating a persona that's marketable, memorable.
It's about appealing to a specific audience.
Exactly. And Katy Perry, with her bright colors, those playful outfits, that over-the-top stage presence, she became a master at creating her own unique brand.
Yeah, she wasn't afraid to stand out, to embrace that almost cartoonish, larger than life look.
And that visual identity was a big part of her success. It set her apart, and it created a brand that was instantly recognizable.
Do you think that was a conscious decision from the beginning? Was she always drawn to that style, or did it evolve, as she worked within the industry?
I think it was a mix of both. Our sources say that she always loved fashion, vintage clothing, creating a look that was both playful and edgy. But working with stylists and the whole, marketing machine definitely helped refine that style, transform it into a strong brand.
Like she took her personality and turned it up,
Yeah.
Amplified it to create this Katy Perry persona that was both relatable and aspirational.
That's a key element of pop stardom, creating a persona that people connect with, a character that embodies certain values,
And Katy Perry, with her blend of girl next door charm and fearless self-expression, she created a persona that resonated with millions of people.
Absolutely. Her journey is so compelling because she faced challenges, she had setbacks, even controversies, but she never lost sight of her goal.
To create music that made people happy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
to spread joy and empowerment.
Really inspiring stuff.
It reminds us that success isn't always a straight line.
It's about the journey.
Exactly. It's about embracing the ups and downs, learning from the stumbles, and never giving up.
Well said. So we've talked about Katy's background. I Kissed a Girl, the ins and outs of the music industry and how she carved out her own space.
Yeah, and we've gotten a much better understanding of how she became who she is.
For sure. But there's one more layer we need to peel back.
Okay.
Let's talk about Katy Perry and the other female artists who were also making waves in the late 2000s.
Oh, yeah. That was such a fascinating time for female pop stars. You had Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Taylor Swift, all coming up around the same time, each with their own unique sound, their own style. It was electric. They pushed boundaries. They redefined what it meant to be a female pop star in the 21st century.
And there's Katy right in the mix with her blend of bright bubblegum pop, that retro fashion, and those lyrics that walk this line between playful and a little edgy.
It's amazing to see how they all got to stardom in such different ways, and their interactions, both the collaborations and the rumored rivalries, they really shaped pop music back then.
Yeah. Our sources mention Katy being featured on Timbaland's If We Ever Meet Again. And then there are all those tabloid stories, trying to pit her against Lady Gaga.
Oh, the media loves a good rivalry, but that often ignores the fact that these artists were breaking down barriers, paving the way for future generations.
They were rewriting the rules, showing that there was room for different voices,
Exactly.
For different ways of expressing female power in pop music.
Absolutely. And even though their journeys weren't always easy, there was this sense of solidarity, this feeling that they were in it together.
Battling it out in a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
Facing all that scrutiny from the media.
Exactly. Of course, there were moments of tension, like, when Lily Allen publicly criticized Katy Perry's lyrics and image.
Right.
It shows just how complicated it can be to deal with fame and success. They were all under so much pressure trying to figure out who they were in a system that wants to put everyone in a box.
It's like they were all sisters, supporting each other one minute, then maybe arguing the next.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they were connected by this shared experience.
Being women in pop music, breaking through in a world that wasn't always welcoming.
And that shared experience makes their individual successes even more meaningful. They weren't just competing with each other. They were fighting for their place.
Fighting to be heard, fighting to express themselves, fighting to be taken seriously.
And their impact is undeniable.
Yeah.
They opened doors for so many artists who came after them, Showed that women in pop music could be bold, could be creative, and could be successful on their own terms.
Absolutely. They changed the conversation. They expanded what female pop stardom could be. It wasn't just about being the sweet, innocent girl next door anymore.
They could be edgy, provocative, outspoken.
And still connect with huge audiences.
Yeah. And Katy Perry with her fearless style and those lyrics that often challenged expectations. She was at the forefront of that movement.
She was a key figure in this new wave of feminism in pop music, where women were taking control, using their platform to empower others.
It's amazing to see how far they've all come.
It really is.
And the impact they've had on music and culture.
Speaking of impact, there's one more piece of Katy Perry's story that we haven't explicitly talked about.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Oh, reinvention.
Bingo. From changing her name to leaving gospel music behind to embracing this bold, over-the-top pop persona, she's never been afraid to experiment.
To take risks, to constantly evolve.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like she's a pop chameleon, adapting and changing to fit the times.
And that evolution is what's kept her relevant for so long.
Pop music is all about capturing the zeitgeist, the mood, the trends. Artists who stick to a formula that's not working anymore, they tend to fade away.
But Katy Perry has reinvented herself over and over, musically and visually, and that's a big reason why she's kept such a loyal fan base.
She's not just following trends, she's helping to create them.
Makes you wonder what she'll do next. What new persona will she come up with? What new sound will she explore? That's the fun part. We never know what to expect.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Katy Perry's rise to pop stardom, I want to circle back to our listeners. Think about our original question. If you were breaking into pop today, what would you aim for?
Controversy.
Relatability, or try to find that sweet spot in the middle.
It's a tricky question. The pop music world is always changing. What works today might not work tomorrow. But one thing's for sure, authenticity matters. People can tell when you're not being real.
So being genuine, being true to yourself, that's more important than ever.
Absolutely. But that doesn't mean you can't be, strategic about how you present yourself. It's about finding that balance between staying true to your values and creating something that people will connect with.
It's about being real in a way that resonates.
Yeah. That's the tightrope every artist has to walk, finding that sweet spot where personal expression meets the desires of the audience.
Well said. I think we've reached the end of our Katy Perry journey. We've explored her music, her image, those bold choices she made, all the things that influenced her along the way.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating look at her career.
Remember, these deep dives are all about, thinking critically, questioning things, and engaging with pop culture in a thoughtful way. So as you go about your day, think about what Katy Perry's, evolution tells us about pop music, about our culture, and ultimately about ourselves.
Yeah, keep those questions in mind, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Until then, happy listening, everyone. All right, we're back and ready to talk about those other incredible female artists who are, making waves alongside Katy Perry. It wasn't a solo journey for her.
Oh, definitely not. That whole era, it was like this explosion of female power in pop music. You had Lady Gaga pushing those boundaries, those theatrical performances, those incredible electro pop anthems.
And then there was Rihanna bringing that Caribbean flavor and that that bad girl energy.
And Taylor Swift capturing hearts with those relatable lyrics, that country pop style.
And there's Katy right there in the thick of it with her bright, bubblegum pop and the retro fashion and those lyrics that were both playful and kind of edgy.
It's so interesting to see how they all got to the top in such different ways, and their interactions, the collaborations, the rumored rivalries. It all shaped pop music back then.
For sure. We've got sources mentioning Katie's her feature on Timbaland's "If We Ever Meet Again," and then there were all those tabloid stories, trying to pit her against Lady Gaga.
Well, the media loves a good rivalry story, but it often misses the bigger picture. These artists were breaking down barriers, showing what was possible.
They were changing the rules, proving that there was room for so many different voices, for all these different expressions of female power in pop music.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though things weren't always easy, there was this feeling of solidarity, this sense that they were all in it together,
battling it out in this male-dominated industry.
Yeah, and facing all that scrutiny from the media.
Exactly. And sure, there were moments of tension, like when Lily Allen publicly criticized Katy Perry's lyrics and image.
Yeah. Those moments just show how complicated it can be to navigate fame and success,
Yeah.
They were all under so much pressure trying to figure out who they were in a system that tries to put everyone in a box.
It's like they were all sisters, supporting each other one minute and then maybe having a little spat the next.
Right. But at the end of the day, they were connected by this shared experience.
Being women in the world of pop music, trying to break through in a world that wasn't always, that welcoming.
Yeah. And that shared experience, it makes their individual successes even more powerful, They weren't just competing with each other. They were fighting for their place, for their voice.
Fighting to be heard, fighting to be taken seriously.
Exactly. And their impact is huge. I mean, they paved the way for so many artists who came after them.
They showed that women in pop music could be bold and creative and successful on their own terms.
They changed the conversation. They expanded the possibilities for what female pop stardom could look like. It wasn't just about being the sweet, innocent girl next door anymore.
They could be edgy, they could be provocative, they could be outspoken.
And still connect with millions of people.
And Katy Perry, with her fearless style and those lyrics that often, challenged expectations, she was right there at the forefront of that movement.
She was a key part of this new wave of feminism in pop music, where women were taking control of their stories, using their platform to lift others up.
It's amazing to see how far they've all come and the impact they've had on the music world and on culture in general.
Speaking of impact, there's one more part of Katy Perry's story that we haven't really talked about directly, but it's there throughout her whole career.
I think I know you're going to say reinvention.
You got it. From changing her name to leaving gospel music behind to embracing this bold, over the top pop persona, she's never been afraid to experiment, to evolve.
It's like she's a pop chameleon.
Yeah.
Always adapting, always changing with the times.
And that's a big part of why she's stayed relevant for so long. Pop music is all about capturing the moment, the trends, the mood, and artists who cling to a formula that's not working anymore, they often fade away.
But Katy Perry she's constantly reinvented herself, both musically and visually. And that's a big reason why she's maintained such a dedicated fan base.
She's not just following trends, she's creating them.
Makes you wonder what she'll do next.
I know, right?
What new persona would she come up with? What new sound would she explore?
That's what keeps it interesting, right? We never know what to expect.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Katy Perry's her rise to pop stardom, I want to go back to our listeners. Think about that original question we posed. If you were breaking into pop music today, what would you aim for? Controversy, relatability, or try to find that balance, that sweet spot in between?
It's a tough question. The pop music world, it's constantly changing. What works today might not work, tomorrow. But one thing's for sure, authenticity, it matters. People can see right through you if you're not being real.
So being genuine, staying true to yourself, that's more important than ever.
Absolutely. But that doesn't mean you can't be smart about how you present yourself. It's about finding that balance between being true to who you are and creating something that people will connect with, that will resonate with them.
It's about being real, but being real in a way that connects.
Yeah, that's the tightrope walk that every artist faces, finding that sweet spot where personal expression meets what the audience wants.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring Katy Perry's story.
Yeah.
We've talked about her music, her image, her bold choices, the things that caused controversy and all those influences that shaped her career.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting look at her journey.
And remember, these deep dives, they're all about, thinking critically, questioning things, and engaging with pop culture in a way that makes you think. So as you go about your day, think about what Katy Perry's evolution as an artist tells us about pop music, about our culture, and ultimately about ourselves and the music that moves us.
Keep those questions in mind, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Until then, happy listening, everyone.